The scene opens on a misty marina at dawn, seagulls circling, ropes slapping against rusted cleats. Daniel Carter, mid-30s, an exhausted architect recently divorced, stares at rows of forgotten boats up for auction. He isn't looking for luxury. He's looking for escape. Among the neglected hulls, one vessel stands apart, a faded white yacht, half submerged yet dignified. Sea Haven etched into the bow. Something about the name grips him. The yacht almost looks alive, like it's waiting. He wins the bid easily. No one else wants a wreck. When he boards for the first time, the silence feels heavier than it should. Every footstep echoes through empty cabins like someone once lived and never really left. He runs a hand over the wheel, smiling faintly. "We'll bring you back," he murmurs. Then, a flicker. A faint orange glow deep inside the cabin. The yacht was supposed to be abandoned, but someone is inside. A dim light flickers behind a cracked window. Was that movement or reflection? Daniel climbs down into the cabin, cautious. The smell hits first. Salt, damp wood, and faint traces of lavender perfume. Everything is too tidy for abandonment. Cups, blankets, even a steaming mug of coffee. Before he can call out, a voice barks from behind him. "You have no right to be here. This is private property." A woman in her 40s, Karen Matthews, stands there in a silk robe holding her phone like a weapon. Her tone is sharp, practiced, the kind that doesn't question itself. She's clearly used to getting her way, Daniel stammers, showing the marina receipt. "I'm the owner. I bought this yacht today." Karen's face twists. "That's impossible. My family's been living here for months." Her words hang in the air like smoke. Behind her, he hears footsteps upstairs. More people, a teenage boy whispers from behind her. "Mom, what if he's the man from the letter?" Karen claims the yacht belongs to her friend's family trust, and that the HOA allowed them to live aboard temporarily. The story doesn't add up. Clothes hang neatly in the corner, food is stocked, and a family photo sits on the table. Karen, her husband, 2 teens, smiling like this really is their home. Daniel tries reason. "Look, I'm not here to fight. I bought this legally." "Sure you did," she snaps. "That's what squatters always say." Her tone drips with condescension, that peculiar Karen confidence that turns falsehood into performance. But the sun's slip earlier gnaws at Daniel. "What letter?" he asks. Karen freezes, then throws a crumpled envelope at him. The envelope bears his name, written by someone he knows, and the warning, "Do not sell to Daniel Carter, he knows." Daniel smooths out the letter on the yacht's dusty counter. It's from the Lakeview Marina Management, warning the property holder about unpaid fees and pending seizure. But at the bottom, written in hurried, different handwriting, are the chilling words, "Do not sell to Daniel Carter. He knows." His chest tightens. Who wrote this? What did he supposedly know? Karen folds her arms smugly. "Maybe you should ask your friends in the HOA. They told us about you." Daniel's voice trembles, part anger, part disbelief. "You're saying the HOA warned you about me?" "Warned? No," she says. "They gave us permission." The words echo like thunder. Daniel realizes the HOA somehow knew he'd come for this yacht and wanted to keep him away. The confrontation grows quieter, colder. Karen's tone shifts from arrogance to weaponized calm. She claims her brother, a community manager, allowed her to occupy the yacht since it was under HOA review. Daniel knows this is nonsense, but the confidence in her voice makes it sound plausible. When he shows his purchase papers, she laughs. "You think paper beats policy? We're under association jurisdiction. You're trespassing." Her logic is absurd, but she wields it like armor. He finally says, steady and firm, "Then I'll move in too." "Let's see what your jurisdiction says about that." Karen's smile fades. "You'll regret that." That night, as Daniel lays in the cabin, exhaustion finally settling in, he hears faint footsteps above deck. Slow, deliberate. Too heavy to be Karen's. Someone else is still aboard. Daniel slips out of his bunk barefoot, armed with only a flashlight. The rain has started, faint, rhythmic against the hull. The creaking of the yacht becomes a heartbeat. On the upper deck, the wind howls, but then he sees it, a shadowed figure darting across the railings. Daniel lunges forward, shouting, but the man leaps overboard into the black water without hesitation. Daniel peers over the edge. Nothing but waves. Then he notices something stuck under a rope cleat, a soaked business card. He wipes the salt off to read, Douglas Haynes, HOA Legal Division. The name sends a chill down his spine. The HOA wasn't just aware. They were here. Daniel realizes the man on his yacht was the HOA's own lawyer. At sunrise, Daniel finds a note taped to his cabin door. The handwriting is clean, official, printed on HOA stationery. Vacate the property immediately. This vessel remains under community jurisdiction. Failure to comply will result in removal. Karen's family is gone, vanished overnight, but their belongings remain scattered. He walks through the cabin and notices a loose floorboard under the navigation table. Inside is a hidden panel with USB drives, old ledgers, and HOA financial documents. He plugs one into his laptop. File names flood the screen. Asset Reallocation Ledger, Marina Division, Sea Haven Transfer, Record, Douglas H. Personal Archive. Every file connects. Back to the HOA's Lakeview Association, they weren't protecting assets. They were stealing them. Daniel stares at the glowing laptop screen as it displays one final file name. The laptop hums faintly, casting a bluish glow in the dark cabin. Daniel's hands tremble as he opens the file named Sea Haven, confidential subject Daniel Carter. Inside, he finds scanned documents, old property maps, ownership certificates, and correspondence between the HOA's legal division and a defunct real estate firm. But one letter stands out. It's addressed to Douglas Haynes, the HOA lawyer, and it reads, "The Carter case is still unresolved. The yacht was part of his father's holding. The deed must not resurface," his breath catches. His father, the man he thought had died bankrupt, once owned this yacht. And somehow, the HOA knew it. The floor beneath him creaks. He spins around. Karen's teenage son stands there, pale and shaken. "You shouldn't have opened that," he whispers. The boy's eyes dart to the window. "They are already watching." Daniel rushes to the deck, scanning the fog-shrouded marina. At first he sees nothing. Then a black SUV idling in the far corner, headlights off, silhouette motionless. The boy trembles beside him. "Mom said if they ever came, we should hide." "Who's they?" Daniel asks. Before he can answer, the SUV's door creaks open. A man steps out in a dark suit, umbrella shielding his face. He doesn't approach. He just watches. Every instinct screams danger. Daniel turns to question the boy again, but he's gone. Vanished into the fog. He races below deck to grab the laptop, only to find the files are gone. The screen reads, "Access denied, remote wipe complete." The last thing on the screen before it shuts down, a flashing red message, "Property seizure in progress." By morning, Daniel returns to find orange HOA seals taped across the yacht's doors. Notice of impoundment, community property in violation. 2 HOA security officers stand guard, smugly holding clipboards. One says, "Sir, you're trespassing on community waters." "This yacht is under legal review." Daniel's voice cracks with frustration. "Community waters? This is a public marina." The man shrugs. "Not anymore. Annexed last year. All under Lakeview Association jurisdiction. Every word feels rehearsed, weaponized. They're not enforcing the law. They're rewriting it." Daniel demands to see the paperwork. The officer smiles. "Talk to Karen. She's the one who filed the complaint." Daniel's blood runs cold. Karen wasn't a squatter, she was bait. He looks up toward the marina office window. Karen is standing there, staring down at him, smiling. Daniel storms into the marina office, slamming his deed on the counter. Karen stands beside a plump, balding man in a blazer, the HOA's regional director. She greets Daniel like an old friend. "Oh, Daniel," she sighs. "You're still here?" I told you this property had entanglements, he snaps. You and your family were living in my yacht. You filed false claims. The director intervenes smoothly. Mr. Carter, please lower your voice. You're in violation of HOA conduct policy. Daniel laughs bitterly. I don't live in your HOA. Karen tilts her head. You do now. The marina joined last spring. Everything here falls under our review. It hits him. They annexed the marina after his purchase went public. A retroactive seizure. He looks to the director's desk, notices a folder labeled Asset Conversion, Phase 3. The yacht's name, Sea Haven, is printed on the cover. Karen leans close and whispers, You were never meant to find it. Late that night, Daniel sneaks back aboard, heart pounding. He tears through the cabin until he finds the hidden ledger under the floorboards again, this time taped inside the panel's frame. Inside are dozens of entries, dating back decades, listing properties transferred under HOA management. Next to each is a payout, all routed to the same offshore account. And there it is again. Sea Haven, transfer authorized by D. Haynes. 2015, hold for Carter settlement. He realizes the HOA had been seizing abandoned properties, claiming them under community development, and funneling money to private accounts. The wind outside begins to rise, waves slapping the hull. Then, heavy footsteps thud across the deck above. Daniel freezes. Someone's there again. He peers through the hatch and sees a flashlight beam scanning the cabin. The beam stops directly on him, and a voice says quietly, Mr. Carter. We need to talk. The man holding the flashlight lowers it slowly, revealing the HOA's lawyer, Douglas Haynes, drenched from rain. Eyes bloodshot with exhaustion, Daniel braces for a fight, but Douglas raises his hands. I'm not here to threaten you. I'm here because they're going to erase you. He throws a sealed envelope onto the table. That ledger you found? It's real, but you don't understand how deep it goes. Daniel opens the envelope. Inside is a confidential settlement agreement, offering him $1.2 million if he signs the yacht back to the HOA and agrees to silence. Douglas's tone is almost pleading. You take the money, you walk away. I can't protect you otherwise. Daniel stares at him, voice steady but burning with quiet fury. You think this is about money? This is about my father and what you people buried. Douglas's face tightens. Then you better pray you never find the rest of the files. Daniel looks past him, through the window, as two more SUVs roll silently into the marina parking lot. The rain lashes against the dock, wind howling across the lake like a warning. Daniel shoves Douglas behind a bulkhead as the SUV's doors slam. Boots splash through puddles. Two HOA compliance enforcers storm down the pier, flashlights slicing through the rain. Douglas whispers, They're not security. They work for the development board. They clean up. Problems. Daniel's jaw tightens. Then let's give them one. He kills the lights, moves silently through the yacht's narrow hallway, grabs a flare gun from a cabinet and waits by the porthole. A metallic clank. The hatch handle turns. Daniel fires the flare straight into the night, not at the men, but into the sky. The fiery streak bursts overhead, lighting the entire marina red. Cameras flash from nearby boats, witnesses. The enforcers freeze, realizing they've been exposed. They retreat to the SUVs and speed off into the storm. Douglas exhales. That just bought us time, but now they'll come through legal means. Daniel looks toward the city lights in the distance and says, Then we'll fight them in court. By dawn, Daniel is inside the county records office, soaked and sleep-deprived. He files an injunction to halt HOA claims over the yacht, citing irregular annexation and ownership interference. The clerk squints at his paperwork. You're challenging the Lakeview Association? You'll need proof of fraud. Daniel sets the ledger on the counter. I have proof of a conspiracy. Word spreads fast. By afternoon, local reporters swarm the marina, snapping photos of the sealed yacht and interviewing witnesses who mention a fight over a yacht worth millions. Karen arrives mid-interview, furious, accusing Daniel of media manipulation. She shouts at the cameras. This man trespassed on private property. Daniel quietly holds up the deed. The cameras click in unison. The news anchor's voice plays over the footage. Tomorrow morning, emergency hearing between Lakeview HOA and property owner Daniel Carter. The courtroom buzzes with tension. On one side, Daniel sits alone, exhausted yet calm. Across the aisle sits Karen, flanked by 3 attorneys, including Douglas, who now avoids Daniel's gaze. Judge Myers enters, stern and sharp-eyed. "We're here to determine rightful possession of the vessel Sea Haven," Karen's lawyer begins, spinning the story. The vessel was abandoned, reclaimed under HOA authority for environmental hazard abatement, Daniel interrupts, sliding the ledger forward. Then why are the same HOA officers funneling seized property funds offshore? Gasps ripple through the room. The judge's brow furrows. "You have evidence of that?" Daniel nods, passing the document to the clerk. Douglas closes his eyes, silent, conflicted. Karen leans toward her lawyer and whispers, "Shut this down now." The judge looks up from the ledger and says quietly, "This isn't a property case anymore. This is criminal." Within hours, whispers turn into headlines. HOA under federal investigation for property fraud. Reporters flood the marina again. Drones hover overhead. Karen's family disappears from the yacht overnight, leaving behind boxes of shredded documents and a half-packed suitcase. Daniel opens one of the boxes. Inside are photographs of his father, shaking hands with the original HOA founders. Notes scribbled on the back. Deal went bad. He knew too much. A cold realization floods him. His father wasn't a victim. He was part of it once. Maybe even the reason it all began. Douglas arrives later that night, desperate. "Daniel, you need to stop digging. Your father tried, and they destroyed him." Daniel stares at him, voice low. "Then let's finish what he couldn't." From the shadows, a flash of light, a camera shutter. Someone's been watching. Daniel installs motion cameras on the yacht and leaves one light burning all night. At 2:17 a.m., the alert goes off. He checks the live feed. A man in a dark jacket is aboard. Rifling through drawers, Daniel races from his truck toward the dock, phone in hand, calling 911. But as he nears the yacht, the intruder jumps into the water and swims toward the far bank, vanishing into the fog. Police arrive minutes later but find nothing. The only clue, a drenched folder floating near the stern, marked Property Transfer Sea Haven. Inside are blueprints and a shocking annotation in red ink. Final conversion approval, pending HOA dissolution. Meaning, the HOA was trying to dissolve and hide assets before investigators arrived. Daniel looks up at the security camera feed, the timestamp glitching and looping. Someone is remotely erasing his footage. The next morning, the HOA building is swarmed by agents and media. Douglas is escorted out in handcuffs. Karen, however, is nowhere to be found. Daniel receives a call from an unknown number. He answers, her voice trembling yet defiant. "You think you've won? You don't even know what you just inherited," she sends him a file titled The Lake. Agreement. Inside are documents proving the HOA never actually owned the marina. It was leased from the Carter family. Estate decades ago, his father's signature sits at the bottom of the page. The yacht, the lake, the land, it all belonged to the Carters from the start. But that means Daniel is the heir to not just one property, but the entire lakefront. Before he can react, a loud explosion echoes across the marina. The HOA office bursts into flames, lighting up the night sky. The orange glow reflected off the rippling water, black smoke curling into the night sky. Fire engines wailed across the marina, their lights painting chaos on the surface of the lake. Daniel stood on the dock, heart pounding, as agents and officers scrambled to contain the blaze. Someone had destroyed evidence, all the HOA files, everything tying the fraud together. Douglas, restrained nearby, shouted over the sirens, "It wasn't me!" "She did it. She burned it all." Daniel glared at him. "Where's Karen?" Douglas hesitated. "She's running! She took the originals!" As firefighters fought the flames, Daniel noticed something floating among the ashes, a half-burned ledger page. The ink was smeared but legible. Lakeview Reallocation Plan, primary owner, D. Carter. He froze. His father's name again. The radio crackled nearby. Be advised. Suspect vehicle, silver sedan, heading toward Carter's Point. Karen was heading for his father's old cabin. The rain returned in waves as Daniel's truck roared along the lakeside road. Lightning illuminated the old wooden cabin in the distance, his father's retreat, long abandoned. Karen's silver sedan was parked crookedly outside, headlights still on. Daniel moved carefully, crunching wet gravel beneath his boots, and pushed the cabin door open. Inside, the air smelled of dust and damp wood. Karen sat at the old writing desk, papers scattered everywhere, the original lake agreement among them. "You wouldn't understand," she said without turning. "Your father started this. He promised my parents this land would become ours. Then he disappeared, and we were left with nothing." Daniel's voice was quiet. "So you took everything from everyone else?" Karen's hands trembled. "I was reclaiming what was stolen." Before he could answer, headlights flared outside, federal agents, sirens distant but closing fast. Karen grabs a folder and runs for the back door, straight toward the dock and Daniel's yacht. Rain hammered the planks as Daniel chased her through the storm. Lightning flashed. She stumbled onto the yacht's deck, clutching the folder to her chest. "Karen, stop!" he shouted. She turned, eyes wild. "You don't get it! This file proves the land was never his to begin with. We all built our lives on lies." Daniel approached slowly. "Then let's prove it in court, not in the dark." She shook her head. "There won't be a court. They'll bury this like they buried your father." Before she could toss the folder into the water, Douglas appeared behind her, soaked, desperate. "Karen, please! It's over." She looked at both men, trapped between the past and the truth. A flash of lightning, a deafening crack. The old mast on the yacht snaps, collapsing toward them. The world erupts into chaos. The mast crashes down, splintering the deck. Karen screams as the impact knocks her overboard. Daniel dives in after her, the freezing water biting into his lungs. He finds her struggling, tangled in a rope, the folder floating nearby. He pulls her free, gasping, dragging her toward the dock. As sirens wail closer, Karen clutches his arm, voice weak. "Your father, he wasn't corrupt. He tried to stop them. That's why they killed the deal, and him." Daniel's mind reels. The folder drifts beside them, its pages spreading across the dark water like lost feathers. He hauls her onto the dock just as the agents arrive. Paramedics rush forward. Karen grips his sleeve, whispering, "Make it right." Daniel looks down at one water-soaked document that washed up beside him, his father's handwritten confession. Weeks later, the federal courthouse buzzes with anticipation. Reporters line the steps. Inside, Daniel sits before the panel, the confession letter and financial ledgers displayed as evidence. He testifies with calm precision about the offshore accounts, the property fraud, and how the HOA preyed on families for decades. Karen, now under witness protection, corroborates the story. Douglas, stripped of license, confirms the money trail. The judge reads the verdict slowly. The HOA is hereby dissolved. All properties revert to their rightful owners. Gasps echo. Daniel exhales, not in triumph, but quiet release. A journalist asks outside, "So what happens to the yacht?" Daniel smiles faintly. "It'll stay where it belongs, with the lake, and with its story." That night, back at the dock, he opens the old cabin ledger one last time and finds a letter tucked inside addressed to him. The lake is calm now, golden in the morning light. The yacht gleams, freshly restored, no longer a battleground and but a memory. Daniel reads the letter aloud. "Son, if you find this, remember. Our name doesn't define ownership. It defines responsibility. Protect what's left of this lake. Don't repeat my mistakes. Dad." He closes the letter, eyes glassy but steady. Nearby, the marina children laugh, skipping stones where chaos once reigned. The water reflects a sky washed clean. Karen's family has moved away quietly. Douglas left town, and the lake is under new stewardship. Transparent, honest, free. Daniel steps onto the yacht's deck, hands the title to the new community trust, and smiles. Some things, he says softly, are meant to be shared. The camera pans wide, sunlight glinting across the peaceful water, the restored yacht drifting gently as gulls circle overhead.